You don't talk much. Someone says it like they are only making an observation. It could happen at dinner, in a group conversation, or during a quiet moment when everyone turns toward you. A small laugh follows, as if your silence is just a harmless detail, but somehow, it lands like a label. For a second, the room feels smaller. You smile because you do not want to make it awkward. You say, "Yeah, I guess," or you say nothing, because explaining your silence would only make everyone stare at it more. Inside, something tightens, because they are not really asking why you are quiet. They have already decided what your quiet means. Boring, awkward, cold, hard to approach. Like your silence is proof that there is not much happening inside you. They do not see the thoughts you held back before speaking. They only see the words that never came out. That is the part people get wrong. Quiet people are not always quiet because they have nothing to say. Sometimes they are quiet because the room does not feel safe enough for the real version of them to come out. And once you understand that, being quiet starts to look very different. That is why being called quiet can feel heavier than people realize. Nobody may mean to hurt you. They think they are describing what they see, but what they see is only the outside of a moment. They do not see the sentence you almost said before deciding it was not worth explaining. They do not notice the effort it takes to join a conversation, especially when every word feels like it could land in the wrong place. And they rarely meet the version of you that talks freely when the air feels easier. So when people assume silence means emptiness, they miss the real story. Quiet does not mean rude. It does not mean boring. It does not mean you have no personality. Some quiet people are warm, funny, and thoughtful, but those parts of them do not appear on command. They come out when the air around them feels easier, when the people around them are not waiting to judge, when speaking does not feel like stepping into a spotlight. For them, talking is not just sound. It is trust. It is comfort. It is the feeling that their words will not be twisted into something they never meant. If this already feels familiar, comment quiet below, not as a label, just as a sign that you know what it feels like to be misunderstood this way. Most people make one mistake with quiet people. They assume the version they meet is the whole person. If you are quiet at work, they think you are quiet everywhere. If you sit silently at a family gathering, they assume that is your entire personality. If you do not jump into a group conversation, they decide you must not know how to connect. But quiet people often change depending on where they are and who they are with. The same person who barely speaks in one room can become warm, funny, and expressive in another. Not because they are fake, not because they are pretending, because their body knows the difference between a room where they have to guard every word and a room where they can finally relax. Around the right people, there is less calculating. A joke can leave their mouth without being inspected first. A pause can stay a pause. They can answer slowly without having to justify why they needed a second. Their words come out more naturally because the room is not fighting against them. That is not inconsistency. That is safety. And for many quiet people, safety is the difference between silence and becoming fully present. Before a quiet person speaks, they are usually listening to more than words. They notice the way someone interrupts without realizing it. The quick glance two people exchange when a serious answer enters the room. The laugh that feels a little too sharp. The person who turns every honest moment into a joke because silence makes them uncomfortable. None of this may look dramatic from the outside. It can look like someone sitting there with their hands around a glass, saying almost nothing. But inside, they are reading the temperature of the room. To others, it may seem like distance. To them, it is orientation. Is this a place where people actually listen? Or is this a place where every sentence has to survive being laughed at, corrected, or misunderstood? A quiet person may want to speak. The thought may already be there. But before it leaves their mouth, something in them checks the room first. Not because they are weak, not because they are trying to seem mysterious, because they know words are not only spoken, they are received, and if a room does not know how to receive them, silence can feel safer than handing over something real. So they wait, they listen, they let the conversation show them whether their voice has somewhere safe to land. Some quiet people are careful with their words for a simpler reason. Talking takes something from them when the conversation feels thin. They can do it. They can answer questions, smile at the right places, and keep the small talk moving. But after a while, it starts to feel like wearing shoes that do not fit. Nothing is wrong exactly. The people may be kind. The room may be friendly. Still, every sentence feels like it has to be shaped into something easy for everyone else to receive. So they save their voice for moments that feel more real. Not dramatic moments, just the kind where a person listens. The kind where a pause does not make anyone nervous. The kind where they can say one honest sentence without having to decorate it. That is why they may seem quiet in a group, then suddenly open up during a walk with one person, or why they barely speak at dinner, then send a long message later because writing gives their thoughts enough room. It is not that they dislike people, it is that forced conversation can make their real self feel further away. So they choose their words slowly, the way someone saves a favorite song for the right drive home. If this helps explain something you have never been able to put into words, hit like. It helps this kind of quiet psychology reach the people who need it, and this is where many people misunderstand them. A quiet person can sit in a lively room and still feel no need to compete with the noise. People are telling stories. Someone is making everyone laugh. Another person keeps the conversation moving as if silence would ruin the night. The quiet person may smile and enjoy parts of it, but that does not mean they want to join the performance. This is not them being difficult or judging everyone. They simply know when talking would stop feeling natural and start feeling like acting. There is a kind of conversation that asks you to become a brighter, faster, easier version of yourself before you are ready. You laugh quicker than you feel. You answer before you have gathered your thoughts. You react bigger than the moment feels inside you. For some people, that rhythm is natural. For quiet people, it can feel like stepping outside their own skin. So, they stay closer to themselves. They speak when something feels worth saying. They listen when listening feels more honest than adding another sentence. Their silence is not always a wall. Sometimes it is the place where they keep their real mood from being replaced by a performance. Warmth can be quiet. Care can sit in a pause. Presence does not need words. There is a cost to being quiet. It is not always dramatic. It is usually smaller than that. Someone at work thinks you are too serious because you do not jump into every joke. In a group, a person assumes you are uncomfortable because you are not trying to fill the air. At a family table, someone asks, "What's wrong with you?" When really, nothing is wrong. You were just eating, listening, and trying to have one normal evening. That is the strange part. Quiet people can be watched more closely because they speak less. A simple pause gets treated like a mood. A short answer makes people start guessing. Even a neutral face can become something others try to solve. After a while, they are not only sitting in the conversation, they are also dealing with the meaning other people keep attaching to their silence. That can get tiring. Because sometimes, they are not hiding anything. They are not angry. They are not judging the room. They are just there, present in a quieter way than people are used to. But when a person does not explain themselves, others may fill the space for them, and often they fill it badly. Cold, distant, unfriendly, too hard to know. Sometimes the hardest part of being quiet is not the silence. It is watching people turn that silence into a story that is not true. There is one thing worth being honest about. Not every quiet moment needs to be fixed. A person can be quiet because they are listening, thinking, resting, or simply not interested in forcing a version of themselves that does not feel true. That kind of quiet can be healthy. It leaves you feeling more like yourself, not less. But there is another kind of silence. Maybe you want to say something, but you keep swallowing it even when the room is safe. You leave conversations wishing you had been more present. After a while, quiet no longer feels like honesty. It feels like disappearing. That difference matters. Being quiet is not the problem. Losing access to your own voice is. So the question is not, do I talk enough? A better question is, do I still feel free to speak when I actually want to? Because quiet people do not need to become loud to be healthy. They do not need to fill every pause. They do not need to prove they can entertain a room. But they do deserve spaces where their voice can come out without feeling forced. A good connection will not pressure them to perform. It will simply make speaking feel less expensive, and silence feel less like something they have to defend all the time. Maybe the point is not to ask why quiet people do not talk more. The better question is what kind of room makes them feel like speaking, because many quiet people are not empty. They are full of thoughts waiting for the right place. Small observations, private jokes, questions they think about longer than they admit, feelings they do not always know how to bring into a conversation, and thoughts that only open when the moment feels gentle enough. When the right person comes along, it can surprise everyone. They talk longer. They become warmer. The silence that once looked like distance begins to feel more like a door opening. Not because someone forced them, not because they were fixed, because the space finally felt easy enough for them to stop guarding every word. When someone does not talk much, do not rush to decide who they are too quickly. Their quiet may not really be a lack of personality. It may be a sign that they are still looking for a place where their real self arrives. If you know someone who gets called cold, distant, or hard to approach because they do not talk much, share this with them. Thank you for watching until this moment. I'm Can. Subscribe for more videos about introverts, quiet people, and the psychology behind behaviors most people misunderstand. Goodbye and see you next time.